Welcome everyone. My name is Kirsten Ware and I'm VP of Market Development for Field Day. I also have a background as a former executive director for many years and leader in that space for organizations that were delivering their missions through volunteerism. If you're new to Field Day, I want to welcome you and let you know who we are. We're a community engagement platform. We help companies and groups get together and get involved with local nonprofits. In Changemaker Channel, we're talking with leaders of nonprofits who are using Field Day to dig deeper into the causes and their work and share it with our community. Our Streets is one of over 50 Portland nonprofit partners on the Field Day platform, and they're connecting with businesses and their employees through volunteering. So I'm excited today to sit down with you all as a fireside chat and focus on Our Streets and their executive director, Buchi Asemota. Buchi, welcome.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
So glad you're here. Buchi, if you could please just introduce yourself and share a little bit about your own background, we'll get it started.
Of course. Good morning, everyone. My name is Buchi Asemota. I'm the executive director and co-founder of Our Streets. I was originally born in Nigeria. I moved to the USA when I was about 11 years old. I went to college in Indiana State University, where after that I became an educator for about 5 years. I taught kids with special education. Prior to moving to Oregon, after moving to Oregon, I worked at Propelled High School, and I worked heavily with students who had special needs. And that happened up until everything happened with COVID. And then through that, that's when everything happened with the protest. And then from our experiences with the protest is how we formed Our Streets. And the mission of Our Streets is to encourage growth and unity within our community through service, education, and gatherings.
That's awesome. Really, really awesome, Buchi. Thank you. You know, your programs are touching a lot of areas. You're covering environmental injustice, houselessness, food insecurity, and a lot more. Can you talked about the mission and the work. Can you talk about how these things are interconnecting with your vision of creating a well-rounded populace?
Of course. So we started on the basis of being able to fill the gaps that was found within the community. And that for us was food and the environment. And that was when we saw a lot of issues that were happening. And so what we like about what we do is how interactive it can be for people who we are trying to help. And there are a lot of opportunities that we have for opportunities that we provide for the community, and which in turn is a positive effect on our staff and the volunteers. And so there's multiple ways that we have opportunities for where we have our trash cleanups, we have our Feed the Streets program, and also our youth social too, as well. So what we want to aim to have in the future is for as being able to have folks be able to learn as far as jobs, housing assistance. And we also want to be able to just use food as a small band-aid for issues that plague our system today.
Yeah, definitely getting into the systems work. And, you know, you mentioned, so you talked about how Our Streets was formed to support local community and while promoting the ideals and goals of the Black Lives Matters movement.
Yeah.
And just wonder if you could elaborate just more on what those are, you know, sharing examples of how they're integrated into the work that you do. I think that would be helpful to hear.
So from just past experience, we've seen that Oregon has had one of the most significant increases in people who are unhoused since 2020. There's an article from Street Roots which show that there's a 23% increase people who are unhoused this past year. There's also right now people who are people of color only make up 21% of the population of the county, but yet we make up about 40% of the folks who are unhoused in the county. And so also too, the past year, there's this report that came out. There's been about 193 deaths in the county of folks who are unhoused. And so for us, BLM is about it's not just about a movement. It's just being able to show that there is a system that has been put in place that needs to be dismantled. And there is an importance for us of being able to have a community and be able to help our friends and our neighbors, be able to have that support from anyone within our community. And so for us, BLM is being able to emphasize that all people of color's lives matter. It's essentially fighting for a chance to live. And 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 through the nonprofit, we're able to now create equal opportunity for everyone, and everyone coming together as a community. And so with that, our streets for us is about being able to foster growth within our community, while being able to help be able to help out anyone, whether it's friends, our strangers, or neighbors.
Yeah. Yeah. When I know that Our Streets was co-founded by a group of friends, and that, y'all were we were all in the midst of COVID-19 pandemic, in addition to BLM. And, what did you observe in the community that drove you to take action? And could you just describe like how that culminated? It seems like it's such a movement, such a natural grassroots development that occurred here.
Of course. So when we first started, we were originally just a group of friends who wanted to do something more beyond the protest. Because when we were out in the protest, we experienced a lot of injustice. For as far as we were getting tear gas, we got shot we got shot with rubber bullets. We had guns pulled on us on a nightly basis. We felt like we needed to take safety measures in supporting our community, but also be able to protect our own lives. And for us, our streets was the outlet. It's better for us to be able to clean up just graffiti from just outside while the protest was happening. And then we were able to clean up the trash after the protest. And then from there, we were able to set up like just a small GoFundMe where our friends and family just came out and supported us heavily. And we then use that to after just having those funds, we then decided we need to start something good out of this. And from there, we then just be able to, we had our first event that was actually hosted at a BLM rally where we had a community cash cleanup. And so since then, that from all our early on programs, then followed up our Feed the Streets program. And in this program, we have had a team of friends and allies who are just all committed to supporting the community and everyone around them. And with that, we started to make about around like 40 meals every Saturday and Sunday in a small shared space with some close friends and my fiance as well. And from there, we grew to about 250 meals a day. And through that, we had the opportunity to then secure our own kitchen, hire staff, which has now led to us being able to make over 600 meals every day.
Wow. I mean, that story for me is so powerful, in given the contributions that you're making, like under such pressure, under life-threatening conditions, to respond to that with such humanity, and building something is just truly inspiring. It's amazing that the group of friends that you described here coming together who are determined to take action, 3 years later, and you've grown to 30 staff members at Our Streets,
Yes.
and now you supply more than 600 meals a day to shelters across Portland. I mean, that's exponential growth. Like, can you share more about how you manage such fast growing operations? And, you can highlight for us some of the experience and skills that the founding team came with and how that helped to support this. Obviously everything that Our Streets has done has obviously been very successful, and that you continue to build on that. One project after another, one contract after another. Tell us more about the growth, Buchi.
Of course. I feel like there's many elements that gotten us to where we are right now. And I feel like one of the biggest ones is being able to use everyone's skill set. And so when we first started this nonprofit, we all came from different backgrounds. We had teachers, we had some cooks, not a whole lot of cooks.
Mm.
We had, but the thing was, everyone was unemployed, or at least a lot of us were. And so we were able to kind of just put together our backgrounds as a group. And we've now been able to utilize everyone's skill set in that way. Because right now, even when it comes to our staff in the kitchen, I may be a little bit when it comes to just them. Like I feel like they are probably one of the best team I've ever had experience to work with, and they put their heart and soul into everything that they do every single day. And just being able to see that how like just it's this program has truly grown from love and kindness that everyone on our team has been able to just join together, and we've all been able to like learn and grow together as a team. So every bad thing that happens, we go through it as a group. Every debate that happens, we go through it as a group. And I feel like from all that has led us to where we are now, as far as just being able to grow and expand and being able to go after what we feel like we need as a community. And another big element too is the support we get from the community and the volunteers. I feel like that's one of the biggest things like that. That's where we're at right now, because free help has been huge, because we started this during a time when we didn't know what we were doing, and we just knew we were going to go out and do a task for the community. So we're just asking all our friends for help because we were not getting paid. And so just seeing how much we had a lot of numbers in the community of just people who just came out and just wanted to just do the same thing as us, or just help us to support our program, has just been very amazing. I thought that's why we wanted to continue to support our community and grow.
I love that. So, and also just to kind of, you know, with my perspective as a former ED for nonprofits and knowing, you know, what it takes to do this work, right? And so
Yeah.
while the staff has grown, the staff size has grown. Tell me a little bit about, I mean, obviously budgets always start at zero. But I think you said in your first year, the operating budget was about, from another call
So
that we,
So in our first year, our budget was about $50,000. Just in our second year, that increased to about 1.1 million. And then right now we're on pace to be at just under 2 million for our third year.
yeah, I mean, that aligns beautifully with the service, the increased service delivery, right? And all the
Yeah.
good work that you're doing. The the funding that you're receiving isn't just raising dollars, it's also those contracts, right? For earned revenue.
Yes. So these are contracts that we essentially had to prove ourselves because we are not a meal provider, or we were not a meal provider when we first started, but we were just a group of friends who were making most of the community and folks were unhoused. So during that span, there's we were given just a small contract where they needed some support, and our staff literally just stepped up and they exceeded all goals set for them. And through that time, now we did be able to then take on a lot more contracts.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, the grade is so the need is so great. And um, you know, it just demonstrates again the competency and the success of our streets and delivering those services and being part of that continuum of services in our community. And I'm just so grateful that you all are carrying that heavy load, but doing it very, very well.
Thank you.
Sort of want to shift a little to the future
Yeah.
of our streets. And, you know, I know you're expanding your services here, obviously, is continuing to grow, opening a second permanent kitchen soon and adding new programs, including a scholarship. Tell us
Yes.
about that. Tell me more.
Of course. So our scholarship program is currently active. We partnered with Local Grown, which is another Portland nonprofit, to host the scholarship. Applications are currently open. Scholarships are open to anyone, but it's all geared towards students that are of color. There's also a grant for DACA application to help folks for many fees that they have. And so this second kitchen that we have, it's supposed to help us increase our efforts. We'll be supporting a lot more shelters and feeding a lot more folks. And we'll be making, which will also make just the amount of food we have to make at one space to be not enough. And so that's why we're in the process right now of increasing our role and just getting a second space that will allow us to go from about 600 meals to about 1,000 meals every single day.
Oh,
And
wow.
right now, food is going to be the baseline for what we essentially need and use to support the community. And from there, our goal is to continue to grow. And then also as
Mhm,
well, we have secured a grant through the city of Portland for the
mhm,
Portland Clean Energy Fund, which is
mhm.
to assist us to have a planning grant for a low-income housing that is focused on the environment. And it will also give us the opportunity to be trained and educated on low-income housing topics to the point where
Mhm.
we'll be able to have our own our own low-income housing in the next, let's say, like maybe 2 years.
Wow. That's great. That is so great. And it actually gets to the vision around the systems change too, if you're meeting people that are housed as well.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, phenomenal. 1,000 meals a day. Do you think will that be within this next year? When is the kitchen complete?
We actually just signed our lease. So our goal is to start operations on April 1st.
Awesome. Great. And how is staffing for that? Are you going to be adding more staff at this point?
Yes, we are, and we just got some applications to interview or hire a lot more staff, and
Uh-huh.
we'll be having to increase our food budget and a lot of different things because now we have to. We're not being set up to feed a lot more folks.
That's great. Yeah, it takes that, right? To deliver this service, and probably some more volunteers would be helpful.
Yeah,
Um,
so
as part of that growth, I thought it was just curious, our streets used to be called Our Streets PDX, but
yeah.
then I know you recently dropped PDX from your name. So are you planning to support communities outside of Portland? And if so, how are you identifying where to go next?
Absolutely. So we've always had a goal of wanting to see what other towns or cities in the United States would at least benefit from the program that we have right now. Our goal was always to find anyone who had any issues within the community and would get some kind of support and anyone who wants to make some kind of difference in the community. That's when we decided to drop the PDX from our name, make ourselves into a broader organization that reaches beyond just Portland. And so this is actually how Hawaii happened. So we had some friends who are from Hawaii, and they mentioned how much their home could benefit from programs like what we have right now. For me, it was an easy choice to give them our support as they started their own operation in Hawaii. So we've been advising them and also we'll be supporting them in their own efforts as they work on being able to fill in the gaps in their community. We actually have a community casting up planned for our Peace Hawaii on March 11th, actually.
Wow. Are you So it sounds, as you described the Portland, how Our Streets developed in Portland, it was about really being in touch with our community's needs first.
Yeah,
So you didn't, it was iterative. It unfolded here, right? And
yes.
so I imagine you're going to apply that same game plan with Hawaii. Do you have any insights on specific programs or services that did you have any insight on that? Like what kinds of programs maybe would be appropriate? What are the
I
needs
know
there?
one of the main ones we are looking into is housing because that's a big issue in Hawaii. Is when it comes to the locals who do live there, there is not a lot of access to housing, and there's actually also to a large unhoused population in Hawaii as well. But for us, we want to be able to just take the time to be able to partner and collaborate because we know there is a lot more power in numbers. And for us, it's all about having that community feeling and not being able to force ourselves there to go compete. And so we want to just take our time to kind of see like, especially what they need from us and how we can help them.
It's wonderful. Can you cover one more time? I remember you talking about the trash dash.
Yeah.
Um, do you tell me what the trash dash, event is about? Will you?
It's something that we honestly just created on a whim, to where we wanted to make being able to do volunteering fun. That's our thing, is we see that there's definitely a lot of opportunities to volunteer, but
Uh-huh.
we want to be able to just switch it up where people at least feel like they're able to come have a good time with our staff, be able to just be able to like at least leave that experience knowing that they gained some. And so what we started doing is have we were like, we have some prizes, we have things like trivia during the trash events, and we also pick any like a community where we know they don't get a lot of resources or help in the community, and
Hmm.
so we choose that area to then bring our either between 10 to 30 volunteers, and then from there we're able to work for like an hour to 2 hours. We have snacks as well and drinks, and just making it like a fun experience for especially for anyone who wants to come. And our goal usually to do that is we do it once a month when it's not raining outside, hopefully sometimes. But we still try to have it be when it's usually during the spring and the summer, and
Uh-huh.
sometimes through the fall too as well. And so we have that ongoing. This will be our third year doing that.
That's really fun. What's your favorite, I guess, event that our streets is putting on right now?
I would have to go with. I mean, I feel like it's always been the trash dash events, because every time we have the events, it's just you see a lot of different folks there, and it can range from
Mhm.
kids who are like 3 years old, or to people who just want to come out and just chat and see how we're doing and just see how they can support us. And you get a lot of community feeling in those types of events. And it's some of the things too where we are able to collaborate with schools, with groups. And so we're essentially trying to just like it's allows us to just create just either like some programs or just to also kind of see what everyone needs.
Awesome. Yeah, that was the one that kind of jumped out to me. I know later on, we're gonna, at the end of our chat today, we're gonna go over a number of different calls to action that folks can do. I want to encourage everybody, if you're on the call, to write in the chat any questions that you have following up, that we can ask during our Q&A session, which is going to happen here shortly. You know, it's just been super empowering to hear your story, Buchi, and how a swell of that volunteer support came and is meeting the need in the community, how it propelled our streets forward. Um, tell us how we can, what's the best way to get involved with our streets.
Of course. So one of the things for us is that we really do love having support from volunteers from the community. So we have volunteer opportunities available every single Monday through Friday in our kitchen from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. for either one volunteers usually, and for Wednesday evenings we have the group pep night, which is for groups of I believe 4 to 6. It depends on how many staff we have on hand, and we open that up to, as well to companies, any families want to bring a large group out as well. And all this is also able to be applied for on sorry, it's able to be applied for on field day. We actually have the trips planned there as well. And also too, you can go to you can find our events for the Trash Dash when that starts to roll out in the next month through our site.
Great. Well, it looks like we got one question I can ask you, that's popped up from one of our viewers. They're asking what it was like managing a budget that grew so much so quickly. What was the process for figuring out how to scale up your operations and goals? What was that process?
Um, that's a good question. One of the things that I'll definitely say for us is that starting this nonprofit, we were not prepared for what goes in and out of just finances, budgeting, staff, a program. And so a lot of what we've had to do was seek outside help and just learn. I have a lot of different mentors who I talk with on a daily basis and who I ask questions for all the time. And also we have a firm that handles all of our books that I'm able to chat with a lot and kind of just let them know essentially what's going on and the growth. One thing I will say as far as just how quickly we grew is budgeting and being able to put aside funds for like a rainy day because you never know what's going to happen because there's just a lot of times when we didn't think we were going to make payroll. And that's an issue for all nonprofits and times when when it comes to like our food costs increasing and we couldn't really handle that, but we had no choice but to figure out a way to handle that. But I would say like it's just being able to have a team that understands what's going on and able to just kind of support you in different ways. It's been very beneficial, at least for me, because I'm able to at least like chat with my staff, let them know like this is what we have right now, this is what we need from you all, or they just come to me and they ask me what they need, and essentially I am someone who doesn't like saying no to my team. I try really hard not to because it really hurts me a lot, and I know they're doing a lot for the community and for our staff. So I want to figure out ways to at least give them what they need to fulfill their roles.
Mhm. Based on everything you've told us about, our streets, I just feel like the example that you're setting as an employer is also it's just so wonderful. The process of listening to the community, finding the collaborating partners, assessing your progress, your successes, maybe your failures, learning from them, building just this incredible team of folks who are dedicated to your cause, and each of them bringing that skill set and that knowledge to bear in order to move your mission forward. It's a beautiful story. It's must be wonderful to be there. I've got another question popping up. It says from Polly, thank you, Buchi, for your work. Can you discuss your delivery of service and meals? It looks like from your website that you go to homeless camps, but how else do people access meals?
Absolutely. So we have our set contracts with some shelter, well, at least I think about 10 shelters. And then we also provide free meals to other programs that do not get funding from the city. And on top of that as well, we put meals every day in the PDX free fridges. So folks who are on houses just going through the city can also get access to our meals there as well. And so that's like the gist of the meals that we have. We don't have like a walk-up service, but folks do have access to our meals every single day.
Great. And Teddy, who asked the previous question, did want to say thank you for answering that question as well. That's great. Is there anything else that you'd like to share, Buchi, that you haven't covered, or anything else on your mind?
Of course, like one thing I will add is like when it comes to this role, or one thing I've learned is that when you take care of the people, they will take care of you in turn. And one thing we've set the bar on is being able to pay our staff a higher wage than what's required, being able to have things like healthcare and like actual like extended days for PTO and being able to be above the state standards. And in turn, we have an amazing product. We have now a company that is doing a lot better than we all expected. And we're now becoming the leading org that everyone comes to for meals. And so I feel like it's just in just the work that we do and being able to kind of see in turn just how our staff has responded to the ask has been just huge to where that's literally what's led to the success of our org. It's literally not because of me, it's because of the team that we have in place. Because even though I'm the face of the organization, there's a lot of people who are doing the actual work behind the scenes. And those are the ones who I feel like they should always be at least compensated for what technology. That's one thing I feel like there's right now, there's always like that shortage of work for employees because people are starting to understand that they are worth a lot, and they're also starting to understand that it's like the companies usually just don't care about their employees, and so it's like there's that change that we have to start making as a community to start to value our workers.
Absolutely. I mean, nonprofits are known for doing a lot on shoestring budgets, and unfortunately, oftentimes the nonprofit compensation is much less than, as a general standard, less than the for-profit sectors. And so hats off to you for making that commitment and setting that standard, Buchi. That's awesome. Another one of our viewers today, Islam, has asked, his first offering is congratulations on your success and the heart and passion to make a difference. His question is, how did you go about fundraising? What portion of the funds, what's the proportion of funds it comes from, the usual individuals, enterprises, foundations, governments? He says he's just curious.
Of course. Fundraising is a very tricky thing. I will say that much to start. Our first year that we had our nonprofit was all fundraising. We raised about $50,000 in community funds. We had no grants at all. And then last year we made about 45,000, I believe, in grants, and then started the contract, which were about our grants were only about 5 to 7% of the funding that we got, and the rest were all contracts that we got through other foundations. And even so, right now, too, same things where our grants is increasing, where we're on pace to hit about $250,000 in grants for this fiscal year. But the big chunk of our funding comes from our contracts. And as far as grant goes, I'm usually the main person who goes out to find grants, and I have a small team of me and me plus my co-founder and our communications manager who all tag team on grants.
That's great. Thank you for responding to that. As offering the volunteer hours, you mentioned the volunteers. How many hours of volunteerism is our streets leveraging like on an annual basis right now?
Ooh.
And given that you're going to be practically doubling in size, will you be needing twice as many? I know, that basically for the organizations that I've worked for, that volunteers are not only there as a extension of the organization, they get to have that firsthand experience with your mission and service delivery. And then that just really helps to expand awareness, raise awareness about the cause, and really support the organization in a multitude of ways. So how many volunteer hours a year did you get, or were last year perhaps? And what are you hoping for in the next year?
Right now we're actually on pace to get about 12,000 volunteer hours per year. As far as what we would like for next year, we are honestly currently unsure because of the switch in our operations to the second kitchen. We will definitely be having a lot more hours that are open for people to come out, and because we will have now a prep kitchen, which will be just focused on being able to have a lot more hands-on support with that. So we will for sure need a lot more volunteer support. I'm probably going to guess that we'll probably about 20,000 hours this coming year, more than likely. But it's one of the things that it could be a lot higher, it could be very lower. But I know that when it came to when we first started, we had a lot of volunteer outings because it started during the pandemic. And so since everyone's gone back to work, it slowly died down a lot. But we do still want to be able to figure out just how to make our volunteer opportunities be accessible to everyone.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. If when you started, it was COVID, maybe a lot of people were, not working at the time, having more time to do it. So I imagine then that means you saw a dip in the volunteer hours, but as you're ramping up and continuing to grow, you really do need more. To the budget question, Aslam said, thank you. All the best to you and your continued work and success. I've not seen any other questions at this time. I wonder if we should just shift over to the calls to action. Kat, are you free to read through those calls to action for us?
Yes, you can get involved with our streets in the ways that Buchi mentioned before, which is food prep on Wednesday evenings, which you can plan an event for your company or team over on field day. You can help with kitchen prep on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And I'm sure that is expanding with the second kitchen. And then you can follow our street's Instagram for information on their next Trash Dash event.
Thank you, Kat. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. We're going to be sending out that recording tomorrow so you can share today's chats with others. They can watch it back if you want to. Buchi, thanks again for the amazing conversation here today. I'm sure I'm not the only one. Yes, yes. It was really lovely to have you. You know, hearing this story of inspiration and the difference that you're making in our community. Thank you again to everybody who joined us today. And we hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you, time.